You're welcome back, and I apologize for the initial hitches that in my sound. And thank you very much for keeping your dials here and for watching us on Multi-TV. This show is available subsequently on the ABN television. That's the best television station for diasporans in the UK and elsewhere. Well, this show is live on Joy 99.7 FM, also on Love 99.5 in Kumasi, and over a dozen affiliate stations. You can listen to us at myjoyonline.com. We are on your Multi-TV. This is your Joy News channel. It's available also on the internet at multitvworld/streams. My guests are seated, and I introduce them. Abdul Malik Kubaka Jr., Editor-in-Chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. He's a regular panelist. Abraham Amaliba is a lawyer. He's a lecturer. He's with the NDC. Bernard Ambatayala Mona is the General Secretary of the PNC. Nana Akomia, former MP, Minister of Information, and immediate past Communications Director of the NPP as well. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Particularly, Bernard, having had you on this show for a long time.
Well, I come only upon invitations. And I've been monitoring. I see that your panel is always rich.
Thank you very much. And Nana Akomia, it's been a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much.
I'm just not happy that Maliba is sitting next to me. Some high-rise buildings may fall. High-rise buildings may fall on my
Right. Well, briefly, I don't know what your hopes are, what your expectations are for the Black Stars. There are people who have just given up hope. I don't know what you think. You are fully represented. So tell me, Bernard, what are your fears? Ghana goes into a very crucial encounter with Germany. What are your fears?
No fears, but hopes. I am convinced that the Black Stars have the mettle, they have the wherewithal to be able to stand Germany. I do believe that if you watch the first game critically, the Black Stars played a fantastic game. They were not just lucky on the day. As I have said on many other platforms, if you look at the turn of events, it appears that we were not able to get our shots on target. We shot more than the United States could ever do. They took advantage of the few occasions that they got. Possibly this time around, I'm sure that the coach would have sharpened their shooting skills and we'll go to meet Germany. Germany did not impress me, even though they beat Portugal a whooping 4-0. You realize that they didn't play any quality football, but they were able to take advantage of the opportunities that came their way. I am confident that the Black Stars are determined not to come out come home out of the group stages, that they will be able to perform. And it's appearing that we are going to have a repetition of 2006, and that's where I'm even worried. If that is the case, then it means that after the group stage, we will not progress beyond that. We'll just the next game and we may come out.
I see.
You know, many people have done some analysis. They said that in 2006, for instance, we were placed in a group where we have the second place team, the fourth place team, and the 13th team in the world. And the 13th team we played was Italy, and then they beat us. We met the second place team in the world, that was Czech Republic, and we beat them. And in the final game, we met the fourth place team, and we beat them in the final game. In this particular tournament, you realize that we are placed again in a group where we have the 13th place team, which is the United States. We have the second place team, which is Germany, and we have the fourth place team in FIFA rankings, which is Portugal. So if they say history repeats itself, then I'm sure that we are going to have a repetition of 2006. But I just have confidence in the boys.
Right.
I think that they made some mistakes, particularly in defense, that the coach will be able to overcome the initial shock, and that today, all of us, particularly those who are doubting us, will meet...
Kuku, we are ranked 37th by FIFA. The US is ranked 13th.
No, actually...
They beat us.
Yeah, 13th.
Germany is ranked 2nd. How can we be going into such a game and be hopeful that if we couldn't beat the 13th ranked, we'll be able to beat the 2nd ranked?
Well, if you rely or over-rely on the rankings, you may get things wrong. I'm not sure. Costa Rica is ranked something. Check that one for me. And then Uruguay and Italy rank very highly. So rankings per se are not actually the determinant in terms of outcome of a match. When you get to the tournament, of course, pre-tournament you even do the study of all the teams, their strengths and weaknesses. Now that some matches have been played, the coaches have had the benefit of assessing their opponents and so as to re-strategize towards the following match. So the German war machine is a huge one. Let me be honest with you. Yes, I've never liked their national team. Do you understand? For some reasons, I've just never liked them, like the Italian national team, the Spanish national team. But I respect them. They're great football nations. I mean, you cannot underestimate them.
Right.
So that is a Herculean task today. But it is not a mission impossible. Football sometimes doesn't follow logic. Costa Rica has proved it. But it takes concentration, it takes focus, some determination. And as a Ghanaian, what else do you expect me to say? In spite of all the odds which are stacked against Ghana on the surface, in terms of form, in terms of the paper analysis, I still have a funny feeling that we may cause an upset.
I see.
Yes.
Interesting.
But see, that's on-field. Off-field, post-tournament, there are issues that I think we'll interrogate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Kuku just said, Amalba, that, as a Ghanaian, what do I expect him to say? Do you get it? I mean, it's the obvious. My expectation is for you to be realistic.
And that is why I will tell you that my heart is for the Black Stars, and my head tells me that it's going to be a difficult game. Does that answer your question? But you see, it depends on the Black Star that will turn up today. If it is the Black Stars that will be hungry and disciplined in defense and clinical in their defense, I'm sure will cause an upset.
I see.
But if it is the Black Stars that saw a coach that was a bit confused, did not know how to turn around the fortunes when we were being beaten, and the players who were playing out of position in terms of Asamoah, what's the guy's name? Asamoah, the other Asamoah, Kojo Asamoah, then it will be a difficult game. But you see, just as Koku said, football knows no logic. And because it is so, my expectation is that today, God will be a Ghanaian.
Nana, there are others who say, look, guys, you've got to be careful. We could be humiliated,
Yes. Looking at the performance of the Black Stars against the United States, the performance was good. Every commentator on the match agrees that the Black Stars played better.
The goal of football is about goals.
I know. They had better possession, about 55% of the possession. Their passes were more accurate.
They do that often, they break your heart. What's the point?
Is the standard of play that would ensure that you get goals. The goals that they conceded against the Americans were basically player errors, not tactical errors. Yeah. Of course, tactically, you could always argue that if this player was playing in that position and so on, it could be better. But that's an argument that anybody can make. But the goals did not come because of tactical or strategic superiority of the Americans. They came because of player errors. That corner kick that led to the second goal should not have happened. There's a decision taken by a player at a point in time. So, judging by the standard,
the Americans will say you are wrong by not seeking not to credit them with the efforts at making the goals.
No. I mean, we played better than the Americans. When you read some of the reviews in the American newspapers themselves, they say that it was they say it was evenly matched. But we all know that the Ghanaians played better.
Right.
And for them to be able to hold their nerve after suffering a goal in less than 1 minute,
Okay.
it's good credit. And so based on their performance alone, compared to the other teams in the tournament, the performance or the standard is good.
Okay.
And if they can focus.
Just tell me, just in 20 seconds, we move on to some other things. We all have to pray for the Black Stars. But there are those who are already taking on Kwesi Appiah, particularly for his comments that was disaster. If that is a strategy, it is a non-strategy. To say that you are waiting for the Americans to get tired before you bring in your best is a non-strategy.
You know, something, when you fail, everybody beats you up. If the Black Stars had not lost that match, everybody would have been praising Kwesi Appiah's strategy. For me, the strategy makes sense. He says that, I want the younger players to run the Americans to tiredness, and then I'll bring the older players later. It didn't work. But if it had worked, everybody would have said it was brilliant because the Americans were tired and our players were younger and were running faster.
Some say that's non-strategy. That is disaster of a strategy.
But how are you going to determine whether the Americans are tired? Because at what point would you say the Americans are tired? You see, this is subjective. Who also tells Kwesi Appiah that...
Maliba hasn't played football before.
Oh, ask Mustafa Hamid.
There are 25 million coaches in this country.
In fact, if you ask Mustafa Hamid, he's a presidential spokesperson. He was my hall chairman for my team. Now, you see, who also tells Kwesi Appiah that the Americans are not also playing to conserve energy?
Okay.
So it's difficult to determine
these 20 seconds.
Well, I think that if you look at Cote d'Ivoire versus Japan, it was obvious that Drogba was rested and came up, and then he brought the magic. And therefore, if you were inspired by the tactics of the Ivorians, you would want to use a similar strategy. For instance, when you have Kevin, you have Michael Essien. And we are told that particularly Michael Essien is still picking up form, and despite that he has the skill, he has the experience, but he needed. I think that, look, even the young boys played well. It didn't go for us. It doesn't mean that we cannot do better. And I've said that in 2006, we suffered an early defeat in the hands of Italians. We came up, beat the Czech Republic, we beat the USA, and we qualified to the next stage. We can do it today.
Well, I do not pretend I understand exactly what went into the coach's mind. But, you know, I have a funny feeling that he was trying to be diplomatic. He found a diplomatic way, a more acceptable way of saying, because the whole issue was about the benching of some top guns, perceived top
Prince
guns,
Boateng,
senior boy. It was a diplomatic way of saying that, look, these gentlemen are not fully match fit. They have stamina suspect, particularly Asian. If he had said it in this blunt way, he would have hurt them and also, destabilize player
morale. That's an
morale.
interesting angle introduced by Kukuba, since that debate started after the Black Stars lost. Thank you very much. Your messages, your comments, questions are welcome. 1422, that's the text line. You can also post your comments on our Facebook wall, and we'll share them with the rest of the world. You can post them directly to me by email to newsfile@myjoyonline.com. Now, let's take a trip to Bimbilla in the northern region. We are all aware what is happening there now. The police are assuring, or the security is assuring, that they will do everything to hunt down the perpetrators of these murders. The police is saying that this is not, to be described as a conflict which, erupted. It should be seen as murder, simpliciter, and that those people ought to be dealt with. The overlord of Bimbilla, Dani, was murdered together with 5 others. There are others who suffered injuries and who are being taken care of at the hospital. Now, I'll start with you, Bernard.
There's a sad case in our hands. I thought that after what we witnessed in the hands of some murderers, that caused the Dagbon crisis. And later we had...
Coincidentally, this overlord is also called Andani.
Yeah, and later we had some crisis in Boko. We got some in Garishegu. and sometimes in the Volta region, in particular the Nkonya areas. It was just last week that I said that it appears that our Minister for Chieftaincy and Traditional Affairs appears to be on top of the issues, because there appear to be daily report of long-standing chieftaincy issues that are being resolved. And for me, that was a plus. Only to wake up to this terrifying news that the overlord of Bimbilla has been killed. This time round, I want to commend the police for their stance. Seriously, over the years, and you know that I've had battles with the police sometimes, when issues like this happen, they easily come to say that it is an importation, or for that matter, an exportation of rivalries between some ethnic groups that has occurred in one particular place, and therefore they treat it as an ethnic fight.
That's nice. I'm still admiring you. Go ahead.
At an ethnic fight. But this time around, the police are taking it as a purely criminal matter, and therefore it's not going to be one ethnic group pinched against another. Whoever is discovered to have been behind this heinous, atrocious crime that has been committed on innocent citizens of a land, those people will be brought to book on the fact that they committed a crime, not because they belong to one ethnic group or the other. I think that it is a stance that our police must take, and I'm happy that they've taken that stance, so that at the end of the day, people don't hide behind one political parties, two tribe or ethnic groups in order to commit some of these dastardly acts. I condemn the happenings in Bimbilla, but it also brings to the fore the readiness of our security agencies. It appears that we always do the fire service type of job. You wait when they say fire is here, then you start rushing there in order to go and quell the fire. We are unable to anticipate some of the conflict that will come. And I'm sure that if we have the proper surroundings of security, we should be able to foresee some of these things coming and then move in to quell the situation before they escalate. And
especially that it had happened before recently, leading to the imposition of the curfew there.
You know, so I am amazed that we did not take the necessary precautions in order to prevent the murder that has taken place, that we could have done better than this. To now rush and now be looking for post-event solution, it's not the best. We cannot bring back the lives of those who are gone. We will not be able to erase their memories. We will not be able to erase the pain that their families and other people around them have gone through in this particular time. And so I think that the police or our security generally should do much more than this. You should not wait for the event to happen. We should be able to move to quell the situation. I think that we've not done well in this particular circumstances. I also want to say, possibly, our security are not properly equipped, because in some of the instances, they will tell you the kind of sophistications that the criminals come, the guns, the armory that they use. Our security agencies are shocked because they don't have that kind of thing. You put a policeman to go and guide a place, and you don't give him a gun. The people who are coming with guns. What do you expect the police to do? To go out there and be shot? I think that we need to do something about the rate of crime in our country. In this particular instance, I am totally terrified that it happened. We have killed, once again, an overlord just because of some minor issues. I think that we can do better as a nation.
Maybe there are people who are wondering what is in the psyche of people who decide to take arms to solve chieftaincy disputes. And here the police is saying that let's not call this a chieftaincy dispute. We are aware that there was a disagreement over where to bury a rival chief in the town, and that is what triggered Thursday night's murder. But very curious is the fact or the report that those who besieged the palace and did the killing were in police uniform.
Samson, I am ashamed at this dastardly act.
coming from that part of the country, northern part of Ghana, I cannot but to be ashamed at the repeat of such acts. I think that this is despicable and it must be condemned in no uncertain terms. What it tells us is that it was well orchestrated, planned, and executed. This now brings us to the question of what has happened to our intelligence gathering. Our security services, do they invest in intelligence gathering? These are the questions that I need answers to. I'm told that there were signals, and indeed, listening to the news, the family of the late chief indicated that they had informed the district chief executive, that's DISEC, of this act that has happened.
They were seeking, personal protection for the chief in particular.
Exactly. And I'm told that there was a police detachment at the place there. But I understand that the whole event happened when the morning shift went back and they were now to receive a new set of police people. And within that period, this act was committed. And I think that the police would have to explain to us, the people of this country, why such a lapse. And I don't think that it is.
You're saying that if that is really the case,
yes,
then the first batch ought to have waited to receive the next before they leave the place. They don't leave hoping that the other one will come.
Exactly.
But Bernard is talking about constraints that they may have. For all you know, that's the only vehicle that they had, and they needed to drive back to the station and hand over that vehicle to the next group to also drive back to the palace.
Probably is something I have not told you is that during the Supreme Court hearings, the lawyers who were active on the case were given police protection. I had one in my house. What normally will happen is that the vehicle will come, drop that person, and then go around and distribute the others. The following day, they will bring the one who will replace the one in my house, and then they will go.
So you're talking about Accra?
The same vehicle. I'm saying you're talking about lack of vehicle. Okay. So that vehicle, which would have brought the morning people, would have sent those who slept overnight. So vehicles should not be. But you see, I have had some discussions ever since this happened. Local intelligence link. 2 weeks ago, there was an attack on a bullion van that was carrying money. I don't know, you heard of that. And 2 policemen were killed and their rifles taken away. The money was not touched. And that was along the Wale Nalergo Road. Now, local intelligence are linking that to what happened at Bimbilla, saying that it was those ammunitions taken from the scene that was used to cause that mischief. And so I want the police to also be interested in such matters and to see how that is possible. Because you will be surprised to find that if a bullion van is attacked, they would rather go in for the money and not for ammunitions. So once they've gone in for the ammunitions, it meant that they needed those ammunitions to engage in some mischief. And so we will need to connect the two.
Right. Nana, we are told by the police, the Director General of the Police Service, DCOP Nanyi Ampabenin, that we should look at this as pure murder and the perpetrators should be dealt with as such. He says, we will get them from their hideout and they will be brought to book. This cannot be said to be violence. It is murder. So those who committed those murderous acts will be found out. We assure the general public that we will get them, we will arrest them and prosecute them. Fortunately, just soon after government announced that there is a bounty of 100,000 Ghana cedis on the head of, for anybody who will give information leading to the arrest, 10 of them have been picked. Is that sufficient assurance that peace will return to the place permanently?
Well, it would depend, certainly, on how the police investigations proceed. Now, Samson, there are some elements in this matter. The first one is that there's obviously some dispute as to who occupies the skin of.
And this overlord was one who was contesting, the particular.
Yes. So there is a dispute over there. And I understand that one of a key member of the other party died of natural causes earlier part of the year. And talks about the burial and all of that actually led to disturbances. And then a few months down the line, the person who's on the skin, which has been disputed, has also been murdered. And so it's possible that there's some linkage with the dispute over who is the overlord of the area. It's also possible that this is a purely criminal matter, a pure case of murder. So, but that will have to be determined by the police investigations. We've been told that there was a police presence at the palace of the overlord, and so obviously there was a security breach. Bernard Mona had talked about the readiness of the police. He's talked about the equipment that the police had and so on. He's indicated that probably the police didn't have weapons. My brother Malibatu had talked about intelligence failure and all of that, and that there was some forewarning and all of that. All of these things will come into play. But for me and people in the NPP, you see, what has happened in Bimbilla has all the elements of what happened in Dagbon in 2002 or thereabouts. All these elements were there. Security breach, the readiness of the police, the military, and all of that.
The issue around which there is a disagreement is very similar.
Yes. and there's also dispute over the skin. All of those elements were there. The NDC, then in opposition, recklessly, irresponsibly, tagged the NPP as directly responsible for the death of the Yana and made it a big political issue. I do not think that the NPP is going to be as irresponsible as the NDC and make this a partisan matter. We will not do that because it doesn't help anybody. At the end of the day, after playing it up as a partisan game and leading members of the NDC...
What is the point of the introduction of this aspect of the politics of it?
Because that is what the NDC did. And I'm saying that we will not do that. And I need to point it out to the NDC. The next time, they should be careful. Because the NPP could have also taken that same tack and made it a political issue, like they did. You had leading members of the NDC going on radio and saying, look, we know the people. We even have films. We will catch them immediately. The NPP is involved. We heard all of that. At the end of the day, when they came into power, they couldn't do what they said they would do. So we will not do that. But this is a pointer to the NDC that what they did with the Dagbon, if other parties become so irresponsible, you just end up nowhere. And that is a lesson for all of us, especially the political parties. But we hope that the police, they've taken firm steps. They've given a big reward. Obviously, some leads are coming in. They've made some arrests and so on. We hope that this thing will be solved very, very quickly without the introduction of partisan politics.
Should it be left to the police alone to just handle it at that level?
Well, the police say this is a crime. To that extent, it is within their jurisdiction. They are the lead agency when it comes to crime, the way they have described it. I agree. It's a crime. It's a criminal act, an act of impunity. But we all know that there are underlying causes which comes within the framework of chieftaincy dispute.
The police say take that away. You don't bring that in.
When we are analyzing, we cannot take it away. They are focused just on the act of criminality. Investigate that, apprehend the perpetrators, send them to the appropriate forum, which is the law courts, and prosecute them. Even there in the law court, when they are given an account, they may end up bringing on some of these underlying causes, not as the basis for finding anybody guilty, but to give a general view of the environment that triggers such things. So really, it is absolutely unrealistic for us to seek to interrogate this issue without looking at the underlying causes.
There's a non-admission of the surrounding things about this whole thing, like you say, affect or hinder the police's ability or the state's ability to effectively resolve this
Not
matter.
necessarily if it is the issue, focused issue of apprehending perpetrators for purposes of prosecution.
Right.
But in terms of peace building, peacemaking, and getting public awareness. You need to let all those matters come to the fore so that people can have a better appreciation of it. But I can appreciate where the police are coming from because they want to focus and all that. But my colleagues have really done a yeoman's job on this analysis subject. The question of intelligence and security failure is obvious because there was a curfew. And I'm talking here of the District Security Council and the Regional Security Council, and for that matter, the troops that had been deployed on the field, on the ground, to ensure that the curfew was respected and security was maintained. Obviously, we should be learning from previous experiences and try and consolidate those lessons so that we can help in terms of our standard operating procedures and things. So something went wrong there. It's not for people like us to come and sit here and lament. They, the experts, and those who are involved should do an introspection,
Abraham is suggesting that beyond the police, as they pursue the perpetrators, they also ought to be pursued for the breach that occurred.
Yeah, that is not done by people like us. We can discuss it. But if you want to cure the mischief, that mischief is done by those who have the authority, national security, the presidency, and other experts, always looking at it. It comes also with their logistical capacity. It comes also with training of personnel. It comes with intelligence gathering. It's a bigger thing. And in this country, we have hundreds of hotspots, potential explosive points in this country due to land litigation, chieftaincy disputes, ethnic conflicts, and all the rest, And so we should be very careful about that. But I am hoping that this rapid arrest is based on solid foundation. It's not just to say, look, we've been fast, so as to appease maybe people of suspicious minds and things. Because otherwise, when it comes to the legal battle, the court, you may get them escaping. And it would not be because the courts do not want to enforce.
And you're talking with the benefit of previous situations.
And that has its own effect. You understand? It creates another problem, then leads to more public agitation, especially in that community. Maintaining stability and security in that community requires that things are done properly. It's part of it. When the people are not sure or are not convinced or do not believe what you do and what you say, look, no matter what you do, you can send 10 armor cars there. You maintain peace somewhere up there, but not within the heart of the people.
And that's the most critical aspect of it.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And Abi, to be fair, I'll give you just some, seconds of reaction to Nana Kumia's, bit about the politics. But Bernard, the family is asking or demanding justice, and they point to the fact that they had alerted the police of the need for protection for the chief. And here they are, they went to provide the security. We're being told, allegedly, that the police appear to have failed in their, way of changing the baton. How do you think that the family will feel that they have gotten justice if the police only pursues those they feel are the perpetrators and the police themselves are left?
Obviously, I think that the police as an institution, like I said, despite logical difficulties, they should be proactive. They should work within their own ethics to know that in situations like this, you just don't give room for anybody to take advantage. I listened to one of the policemen speaking, and his argument was that everybody had gone to the mosque and that the chief was there and that some people went to fire at the chief. I thought that was absurd. So you can anticipate that something like this can happen, and you did not take any steps to ensure that you are able to overcome those who will be coming there, so that you find out who are you, what are you coming within a certain parameters. You didn't do that. You just allowed the event to occur. So I think that even as we are looking for those who committed the act, we should also be finding out why the police allowed the situation to occur. And those policemen that fail in their duty should also be brought to book, so that the family will know that. I mean, it's not just for that particular family, but it's to bring the police to the standard that, look, don't just take things for granted. Anything can happen, and that's why you are trained so that you'll be able to take charge of situations like that. I just feel totally broken.
They insist that he was attacked without any provocation whatsoever.
They said they went to mosque and the chief was left alone. Of course, that could not have amounted to provocation if you are in your house and some people just can possibly...
Who speaks about the undercurrent, which is a very central point.
It has
Nana
always
also
been.
refers to
it
that.
has always been. I mean, you don't know what the undercurrents may be. We can sit here and speculate based on what we believe. But obviously, I'm sure that there are many other factors. Why? The place we are told that there is a dispute as to who is the rightful chief and who is not, who should succeed and who should not, who should be buried and who should not. So certainly there are issues to be resolved, but that issues are there to be resolved should not lead to the killing of others.
Okay. Now he refers to who should be buried or who should not. It's actually one person, the former chief, where he should be buried. And you remember the Dagbon situation also, Na Muhammadu. The question was, should he be accorded the burial of a former chief, and should he be buried in where the chiefs ought to be buried? And those are very, critical matters. I wanted you to give a quick reaction to Nana Akomia. He speaks about how the NDC recklessly, decided to make political capital out of the Dagbon situation, and in the end, we are all witnesses. The evidence that was promised was nowhere.
Something, normally you know me very well. Normally, in matters like this, I would have been itching to, as it were, react. But you see, I'm sensitive to the feelings of the family of the overlord. I think that it's not a time for us to play political football with such matters. And so, in my view, I let this pass because this is a matter which is so fresh, and I don't think that I would want to injure the feelings of the family members. In my view, what Nana is talking about, there are mark differences. But I will not delve into that because, as I told you, I am, as it were, sensitive to the feelings of the people.
Thank you very much. Kuku, what's it?
Kuku, what's your problem?
I thought Akomia spoke or cautioned against politicization of such events and recalled history and a classic example of politicization. He has not politicized the current situation. He has not done that. In any case, why a recall of a patent politicization of the Dagbon thing? Why is it a problem for my brother? Because these are facts. Recollecting a fact in order to tell us not to do it again, I don't see anything negative with it. If we are enabled now to give classic examples of that politicization, I'm ready for that. These are facts.
He's invited me to make a point.
Should even be
He's invited me to make a point.
I
and
think
I'm
he
saying
was wrong.
that.
I think he shouldn't have
I'm saying
invited
that.
him.
And that's why we politicians should be careful.
So you should
now
have
he has
comment.
invited me. If I had gone through that invitation
You should have declined
made
comment.
it. No. The point is that I will not want to play political football with it.
Right.
That's what
Nobody
I've
has played
said.
political football.
I will
now.
not play political
Akomia
football.
did
I've
not
not said
play-
somebody has played political football.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. Thank you very much. We can end it here.
Honestly, I think that we can discuss it. I think that there are marked differences.
Okay.
No, we are not talking
It's
of
okay.
difference.
It's okay. Let's
politicization.
move on.
But
But maybe let's
we
take
can also
let's
look
take
at it.
let's take a cue from Albert's point that this is very active. It's a live matter.
The Dagbon issue was also
and
active when we're talking about
as we
it.
speak, some of the injured are still in the hospital receiving treatment. Let's give the police some time.